Welcome to Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. We've got such an exciting show for you today. Later in the show, we're going to talk to one of my absolute favorite fighters of all time, Jens Pulver, calling in from the U.S. But first, we've got some fantastic in-studio guests. We've got Tommy Maguire. Tommy, really, really good to see you. Glad you're here.
Yeah, nice to be here.
We've also got Luke Barnatt. Luke, so excited that you're here as well. We've got lots of stuff to talk about with you guys. And of course, my partner in crime, number 48, Brad Wharton. Brad, really, really good to see you this week.
Great to be back, although I do have one small problem. I'm being blinded by the light from those fantastic shoes that you're wearing.
You know, I wore these shoes today. I was watching This Morning this week, and Keith Lemon was on this morning, and I'm a huge Keith Lemon fan, and we tend to have a lot of the same footwear, same things in common. He had these boots on. Of course, my boots are Hollywood boots. His boots are Keith Lemon boots. So Keith, try to keep up. Diamantes, Hollywood. So
keep the game up, man.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep the game up. So Tommy, like I said, I'm really glad to see you. Let's start with you and talk about what you've been doing. You've got a fight coming up in a month now?
Yeah, it's September, May 26th.
May 26th.
Yeah, against Dominic Plum on Ultimate Challenge. So just been training for that.
Yeah, that's going to be a good fight. I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, always a pleasure to see you fight. With your brother, and obviously, you know, he's made it to the big show, and has that affected your training at all?
Yeah, we just train harder now.
You know? You train harder.
That's where I'm trying to get, you know.
Yeah.
More trying to make it to the big show, and seeing him there just really motivates me.
So I mentioned before the show it'd be really, really good to see the Diaz boys versus the Maguire boys.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good main event and co-main event.
Absolutely. You guys line up weight classes, don't you?
Yeah.
We had the Kings on a couple weeks ago, and we sort of talked about what it was like having a brother in the house and training, and how brothers can kind of push each other a bit harder than normal training partners. Do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, he's my best training partner, I feel.
Yeah.
Because we tell each other the truth.
Yeah.
And also, we can spar harder if we need to.
Yeah.
We can always hit a bit harder.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got some footage of your last fight on UCMMA, so let's take a look at Tommy Maguire on UCMMA.
Top of him, grinding him out from the top. It might not be the fastest moving top game in the entire world, but it is undoubtedly effective.
Oh, now taking the back. His hooks are not even in, but the rear naked choke is.
And there's one hook he's got in.
Oh,
and now he's moved to the mount.
Out, but mount position.
This is bad for Joe Holden. Maguire posturing up.
And again, takes the rear mount. Looks like it's in this time. This time it's deep.
He's got his man flattened out more. Maguire's got both hooks in. He's got that rear naked choke locked in. This looks very, very tight. Maguire squeezing for all he's worth.
Holder fighting it off though, still there.
Oh, he's doing well to defend Joe Holder.
Pulls the arm away, does well Joe Holder to escape from that.
Wow, you've got to take your hat out to Joe Holder for that, because that was in deep.
Tries to kick past, does well. Back to his knees, but Tommy Maguire, relentless, holding the back of Holder at the moment.
Maguire retaining control very nicely throughout that. I like the fact that the second it seemed like the submission might not be on, Maguire recognised that and moved forward to compensate, and that's why he's still in the top position. And now once again he's looking for that Kimura, and there it is.
It is on. He taps. It was just a matter of time. That was about the third attempt he did from the north-south Kimura.
Gypsy Jiu-Jitsu at its finest right there, isn't it?
No, that was a poor thing. I should have finished that rear naked choke. That was very poor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get the W. I mean, I think the thing that I like about talking to a lot of guys that we have on the show is that, you know, even if you get the W, and even if everybody else says, wow, spectacular performance, it's the guys that say, well, no, I've got some area to improve there, I've got some area to improve there. I mean, those are the guys that ultimately get there and you know, make it to the top of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have to say, both you and your brother, I've never seen either one of you in an easy fight, ever. I mean, you know, Joe's no slouch. Joe Holder, that was a good fight. He's a tough guy.
Good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So you guys, I mean, you step up and you take the fight wherever it goes. And
yeah.
So, yeah, always a pleasure to watch you fight. Luke, let's talk a bit about you. You had a good weekend last weekend, didn't you?
Quick weekend. Yeah, it was pretty good. BAMMA 9. I won in 2 minutes 36 seconds over there against a guy from Manchester. So it was good.
Yeah, you're not getting paid by the hour, so
that's it.
You might as well finish it quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, BAMMA 9. Let's take a look at that fight. We've got a VT. Roll the VT, BAMMA 9.
And across the ring stands his opponents. This evening, fighting out of the blue corner, his official weight 185 pounds 2 ounces. He brings to the ring a perfect fight record of 2 visits, 2 victories, one of which inside the scheduled distance. Ladies and gentlemen, from Chelmsford in Essex, introducing Luke Big Slough Barnatt.
2 young men looking to step up in quality here at BAMMA 9, and both leading with an orthodox jab.
Ooh, funny kick to the midsection of Johnson. How we're saying that, I'm really impressed with the composure of Johnson.
And it's Barnatt that takes it down though, and instantly gets the back of Johnson.
And look, that is sunk in. I believe that's going to end with the tap.
Taking his time there, Pierre, wasn't he? He was taking his time, and it's over. Clinical finish.
There it is. You know, Brad, the thing that I like about this show is we've got these fighters on, and we show their clips, and I just watch their faces as they're watching themselves just annihilate their opponents. It's absolutely brilliant.
It must be a strange experience.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And that was a good win at BAMMA. I mean, it's made a lot of noise there. It's a good, solid, you know, here I am.
Good show to be on. Good way to win. I spoke quite a lot before the fight. There was a lot of interviews flying around and stuff said. So I was a bit nervous because obviously I'd done a lot of talking and I had to back it up. So I think 2.5 minutes first round's a good way to back it up. So I was happy.
Yeah, but you're always pretty vocal before a fight, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes it exciting.
Part of the game, sure,
That's it.
And afterwards as well, I actually missed Ashley Grimshaw's fight at the last UCMMA because I was interviewing this guy backstage, and it took about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I think at the BAMMA press conference, there was a few of the reporters there, and they wanted to get interviews with everyone, and they were like, "Oh, Luke, we'll do you first." And like all the other fighters had left by the time I was finished, so I do quite like to talk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was on another show with you a couple weeks ago, and you were sat in the commentary booth, so you're doing sort of double duty on both sides of the game.
Yeah, I quite like the talk. The commentary's enjoyable. You know, it's not something I take ultra seriously, but I do enjoy it. So it's good. It's good.
I think it's always good to have somebody who's in the game and somebody who knows the game, sat cage side doing commentary with somebody like the rest of us who don't necessarily.
It gives that contrast, of outlooks, the fans' perspective and the fighters' perspective and all that sort of stuff. So
absolutely.
It's good.
And when's your next fight? You've got another one coming up too, don't you?
I'm fighting on the same show as Tommy. We're fighting together. First time that'll happen, so I'm looking forward to that. It's Ultimate Challenge 28 on the 26th of May. I'm yet to get an opponent. Dave's struggling to find me somebody, so hopefully...
Because they're all afraid.
I don't know.
Come on, somebody step up. Luke needs an opponent.
Well, Tommy's got an idea we were talking about on the train.
Well, there's another middleweight who needs a fight in that card, so why don't just put them together?
Yeah,
simple.
Jason Radcliffe's looking for a fight, and this is the discussion I was talking to Dave about it as well. Jason Radcliffe's looking for an opponent. I'm looking for an opponent. Both middleweights, but my last victory at Ultimate Challenge was against Ben Callum, and Jason Radcliffe lost against Ben Callum. So I sort of think if we put each other together now, it's a bit of a strange thing. But Tommy doesn't think it matters. He just thinks, get it on.
It's like I've got a car licence, but I can drive a motorbike. Come on. Just because I beat you doesn't mean you can beat him.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, Brad, we talk about matchmaking all the time, and it's a trick. It's sort of a fine art because you want to make sure that, like I mentioned about you, Tom, we want to make sure that you don't ever get an easy fight. But that the fights are interesting, not only for the fans, but interesting for you as a fighter, as you guys are trying to develop your career and you're trying to, look for big show opportunities. And what does that mean? Like you said, you can drive a car and a motorbike.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in MMA.
It's interesting in the UK, especially because promoters have got that consideration at the end of the day that they're running a business. If you want to play matchmaker, you could make some fantastic fights with guys all over the world, but you've got to worry about who's contracted whether guys are exclusive, and ultimately, are the guys that you're matching going to sell tickets? That is what it comes down to in the UK a lot, because guys are running on a very tight budget, and if they want to be successful and sustainable for a number of shows, they've got to get guys who can sell tickets, and that sometimes means we don't get the best matches made. We don't get the most favourable matches, but it's part of the business of MMA.
Yeah, well, and I think key difference there between the way we run MMA in the UK with fighters responsible for tickets and the way US promotions. So we'll talk a bit more about that. We've got to go to the break. Join us when we come back from the break when we've got Jens Pulver on the digital wall. Can't wait to talk to Jens. So we'll be right back on Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. Welcome back to Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. I'm so excited about my next guest. I absolutely can't wait. I've read this book, and if you hadn't read this book, I highly recommend it, Blood in the Cage. This book is all about Militich camp and all about guys coming up. And I just want to read an excerpt. And this is from the author, and he shows up to Militich camp, and he's going to start interviewing these guys. The first thing he hears, "Let me bust your nose." The cocked fist was a few inches from my face, close enough so that I could see the bruised knuckles and fine hairs, small white bones, and squiggly cables of veins protruded from the skin pulled tightly. Study a fist up close, and this ball of fury with its uneven shape and unlikely angles, and it's easy to see why it's caused so much damage over the centuries. Fortunately, this particular fist unballed and dropped when I resorted my permission. No thanks, I don't want my nose broken. So this is this author's first encounter with Jens Pulver. Jens, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
What's going on?
So we're looking forward. You've just signed a big deal with Cage Warriors, so we're going to start seeing you in the UK and in Europe.
I know. Yeah, I'm excited. Travel, that was one of the things I wanted to do. I'm getting old, so I wanted to travel more. And I mean, what an opportunity. I got to thank Graham a ton, for bringing me over.
Yeah, we're really, really looking forward to seeing you on that show. I got to tell you, one of the best parts about my job is I get to talk to guys like you who I've been a long-time fan, and like I said, I'm just absolutely thrilled to talk to you today.
Thank you. I always tell everybody, man, I come from VHS to Blu-ray. That's how my career's been. On VHS to Blu-ray, it's not bad,
Yeah, fantastic. We were talking on the show a couple weeks ago about sort of the guys that sort of shaped the early UFC, and I mean, you guys were all kind of 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and we look at the sort of heroes of the UFC, and when you think about the guys that you came up with, the guys that you trained with, compared to today's fighters, I mean, what are some of the observations you have with the game today?
Oh, I used to say it back in, I don't like saying back in the day, but back in the day, I used to say, right now the guys that were fighting is great. I go, well, there's kids right now sitting in elementary school, high school, that have now known this sport and are training it. I mean, it wasn't available when I was in high school, but I think right at the end, then in college it started getting available. But to be able to go to Muay Thai class or Jiu-Jitsu class and wrestling when you're in high school, what? So I just knew that the sport was going to change. I mean, I think Gracie, hey, I've been watching you since I was in the 5th grade. Thanks, man. It's cool, but at the same token, like, dang. But those are the guys. I mean, the ones that could be around the sport from the word go, and they could actually make that saying, hey, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And everybody knew what they were going into. We said that. They're looking, what? That Tank Abbott, Hoist Gracie. Oh, that stuff. Yeah, okay. Have fun, So you knew it was going to change. You knew it was going to be different just because, these guys are going to, again, just by time, being able to watch it. But, I mean, I can only imagine in junior high, hey, you're going to spend the summer learning Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, that's weak, Luckily for me, though, I spent every summer wrestling at international and national tournaments. So, I still had that going for me.
Yeah, well, I grew up in America, and I grew up also going to camp and, going to camps all over the country every summer and spending, that time. But, yeah, I agree. I can only imagine what it's like today when you can go, spend the summer in Thailand or Brazil or, anywhere.
Oh, yeah, and they can make the choice to be an MMA fighter. With us, in the beginning, like I said, it wasn't, you wouldn't do that, what, $750 my first UFC? And it's like, well, I can't quit my job, but I'm like, you know what, I'm going to hop on this train and ride it and see where it takes me. And here we are, still. Woof. It's a long time, but I don't know. Like people always say, I kind of understand now what they meant by it goes by fast, but the reality is, not so much if you just sit back and think about all the things you did. So it's been a fun road.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been fun for all of us as well. And like I said, can't wait to see you, coming back. Can we talk a bit about, when you sort of started out and, hooking up with Pat Miletich? And like I said, I read that excerpt from Blood in the Cage, and that had me hooked on that book. Do you remember that interview when that guy showed up?
Well, I mean, yeah, Sam, but the thing about it was there's always no. What we talked about before was I'd said to him, I go, if you haven't had your nose broken in practice, or if you haven't had a shin kick so deep on your leg, in practice, I go, then your partners aren't doing you right, because I promise you, the first time you have your nose broken, you do not want it to happen in the cage. The first time you take this nasty super shin kick to the side of your thigh, most people that train Muay Thai and stuff understand it. It takes 3 weeks just to see the bruise, and you don't want to have the overall reaction of, oh my God, my world just ended on that shot. So I always said, I go, here, let me break your nose. If your nose, and I'm not telling you to stand there, but it's just more about you want your partners to push you as hard as you're going to push them, because the guy you're fighting, they're not going to sit back and, and play patty cake and things like that,
Yeah. We've got 2 fighters in the studio as well, and one of them, Tommy Maguire, his brother was just signed to the UFC, John Maguire. So we were talking to Tommy about the same thing, about how his brother pushes him a bit harder in practice than anybody else. So what do you guys think about getting bits and pieces broken and bruised in practice?
Well, it's definitely better to get it done in practice than it is to get it done in a fight. It's like you put yourselves in the tough situations in training, and then when you get in a fight, you can relax and you can work out of those situations. I mean, we definitely believe in that at Tsunami, 100%.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. We've also got my co-host, Brad Wharton's in studio, and I'm going to bring this up because I know that you guys are just going to geek out for a couple minutes. But you're a big gamer too, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm massive. I'm a huge, yeah.
So
I'm a big gamer. Y'all heard the famous story, right? The infamous Matt Hughes, Hoist Gracie story. Just say no if you haven't heard it.
No, go on, tell us.
Me, I'll go into it.
Yeah, go into it. Tell us.
All right. Well, I don't know. I'm sure you have. You ever heard of that game, World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, no, I've been playing it for a while, got into it because I feel if I have free time to watch TV, I have time in the games. So I'm a gamer rather than, I don't even have television. I don't have internet all over the place. But anyway, so we were, one time I decided to grind for this Grand Marshal, and more or less you just have to play a lot. And it's like you're the #1 PvP on the server. So I played, for 2 weeks. I had the delivery guy. I would just hold up money, and he would go all the way into the room, drop my food off, and leave. And I had this whole regimen. It was bad, but he called and says, hey, I want you to come corner me when I fight Hoist Gracie. I go, what? And he called me like the day before the fight. I called Monty Cox. I go, hey, man, I've been doing this, sitting in my own filth for 2 weeks. I've been playing from 9 in the morning till 4 at night every day. I go, if I don't stay here and finish till Tuesday, I'll have done all this for nothing. Now, mind you, I'm talking about a video game, but I felt like I had to complete it. And so I just told him, I go, can't do it, man. I'm going to be Grand Marshal on Tuesday. I got to do it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that, because I used to work for a company that makes those kind of video games, and my job is effectively to make people carry on playing for days and days on end, so I definitely relate to that. No, we were just saying you can spot a gamer a mile off because of the headset. That's someone who's at least a semi-professional gamer right there.
And that's the thing. I still hang out and talk to people, and there's a lot of people that still, I won't get into a huge game deal, but the one thing I think a lot of people still don't understand is the fact that you're talking to other people. Socially, it's cool. I stay quiet. A few people have figured out who I am, but I hide under certain names that I always keep. And, so I have the group that I talk to. Like, I sit with me and the real Jeremy Horn game all the time. But, that ability to use your, Ventrilo, or I don't even know if TeamSpeak still functions, or Skype even when you're gaming. People forget about the social side of it, that you actually are talking to people, and it's a lot different than your Super Nintendo or your Atari 2600.
Yeah, Atari 2600.
Yeah, I said it.
Well, Jens, you've actually been in a couple of video games now. Is it weird playing as yourself in the UFC games?
I think in the older one it was. I haven't, the Pride one, I won't open it, but it's always weird seeing myself. I feel bad for the people that made it. I don't, I'm no spring chicken, man. I'm not, it is cool, because I think more than anything, I think about when I'm old and hopefully not too out of shape, but my kids can look and see what, hey, this is who I was. Because one of the things I always talk about is all you're left with when it's all said and done are stories, and whether people want to hear them or not is kind of how you base your worth. And so it'll be cool for my grandkids or something one day. I'm sure these things will be able to be playable by whatever machines are out there. But so that's real cool. But I like looking at him. He's not, he's cool to play old Jens Pulver every now and then. And I had to go right into the last year's one. I had to go right on me and go right out there and beat BJ Penn and win my belt. And then I was like, okay, now I can play around. But yeah, I had to go real quick.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if people's worth are judged by your stories, we'll be around listening to your stories for a long time, Jens.
That's where I work on. I mean, people see the documentary now, and it's pretty cool, and it's starting to, it'll be going international at some point, too.
And speaking of your documentary...
that's what I tell everybody, man. I'm sorry.
No, speaking of your documentary, I'm actually going to be giving a copy of your documentary. You were kind enough to send us a signed copy, so we appreciate that. So we're going to give that away later on in the show.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Hopefully whoever sees it enjoys it and they like it, and they can always write me and tell me what they thought of it, for sure.
So
it's still weird having it out there.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. So to give away your copy of your DVD, Driven, I was going to ask our viewers a question specifically about you. Something that they might have to dig on the internet a bit to find out. But I'm going to think of the easy question. So how about if you ask our fans a question?
Man, I should have my wife come running through the back door and do it. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know. I guess it'd be pretty cool, because everybody knows I love my little brother, man. Abel's my best friend on the planet. I mean, I love him. Am I lagging on you guys then? I got a wild one for y'all, and I think you could look it up. His name is Abel, A-B-E-L, Pulver. And he's, like I say, he's my favorite kid on the planet. And he went to, man, now this college is going to be tough. Because I'm trying to think, because I was going to ask y'all, what year, or maybe you can find out for me, what year did Abel Pulver graduate college? That'll be my big one. See if that can be found. It can't be too hard. If it is, then we'll throw out there. You can just tell me the name of the college. And you can tell me the middle name of my son, Carson. So, see, I can keep throwing them out there.
This is like the Jens Pulver trivia hour, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, right? Or what's the, because we used to Twitter and Facebook all the time. My daughter Hayden, who was born in May, her nickname, she has two nicknames, but she had one that I always called her, and people thought I was kidding. They're like, is her real name Bojangles? I go, nah, man. That's what I call her, is Bojangles. And now she's getting pretty famous as the Angry Bird. So, I mean, I have all kinds. But, yeah, I mean, that'd be a tough one. If you could figure out when Abel, you don't even have to really mess with the year, but definitely what college, because he only went to one. Not like me, I went to two.
Okay. All right, let's do that. So what college did Abel Pulver graduate from? So all of our viewers, if you can respond at The Cage STL on Twitter with that answer, and we'll have a random
as long
draw.
as nobody pops and goes, he didn't graduate, and then just, whoops, cat's out the bag. No.
Jens, you mentioned
he lied to me the whole time.
Jens, you mentioned you've got a young family now. How's being in the fight game changed for you? Like, so you started out as a kid, and how's it different now that you're a family man?
The thing was, I think more than anything, again, and I don't want to keep reverting back to Driven film, but it took a while for me to figure it out. And the first thing I came up with is, yes, I might be one of the only mental fighters out there. And I'm not lying to you, it's horrible. And it's bad. But no, I mean, in the beginning I was running from my name. My he's the same, his name is Jens Pulver, and I just wanted to make my brother, my mom proud, and I didn't even really think about it. I was just a destroyer. I mean, the disgust in my face when somebody used to say, oh, I'm going to beat Jens and take his belt. I mean, there's an interview with BJ. I was so sick to my stomach at the mere thought of somebody thinking they were going to hit me and that I wasn't going to just hit him 8 times back. I used to have that theory. hit me once, I'll hit you 10 times. You hit me 10 times, I'm going to hit you until the bell goes off. I can't. And I literally believed that, and that's how I lived. And I think the worst thing in the world, no, the coolest thing was winning the belt, but at that moment, I said goodbye. I stopped running, if that makes sense. I changed my name, and, you know, then when the kids started coming, I became human, and in a weird way, it's more like I stopped, and all of a sudden, all my demons caught up to me, and I was trying to run in front of them for so long that it was definitely an adjustment, and one that I've never really been able to get through. And people talk about, you know, the amount of losses, and that's kind of what happened. I mean, it just, I'm only good at, I need things to make me mad. I gotta be mad. And if that's the case, like Cub Swanson, I mean, there I started this losing streak, but with Cub, I was livid. He disrespected me as a person. He made fun of my family, and so I had to beat him. I had to destroy him. You know what I mean? But people figured it out. So I think once I had kids, yeah, man, I became human, and I forgot. I don't know how to fight as, forgive me for saying it, but as Jens Pulver, and it's like Little Evil died, now I just got to be me, and I'm not very good at that.
Jens, we're about out of time. I got to let you go. I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. It's been such a pleasure to sit and talk to you.
No.
I know you've got a trip coming up pretty soon. You're coming over this way, so we'd love to have you in the studio once you get here. We just absolutely can't wait to have you on this side of the pond fighting and being able to watch you live. In person.
I can't wait. You all got to watch out, man. I mean, yeah, I'm sure. I'm so excited. I'm a kid in the candy store. Once this is done again, Graham, I can't thank him enough. And, you know, I think I just can't wait. I can't wait to go there. I may not come back. I mean, you know, I just got to go up and see the high mountain desert bask, you know, because I'm a bastard. So that's my big thing. But I'm pumped, man. I cannot wait to go there. It's my whole career. This is what I've been waiting to do. No offense, Japan, but I want to go this one time.
Outstanding. We absolutely can't wait to see you. So we'll let you go again. Thank you so much, Jens. And yeah, when you're over here, absolutely love to have you in the studio. So.
Hey, like I said, just Jens_Pulver. What's that? Twitter. Tweet me up. Yeah, no, anything. Thank you guys very much. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jens. Talk to you soon.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you later. What a fantastic guest.
What a legend, yeah. One of the first articles I ever had published was like a kind of a retrospective of his career and his life.
Yeah.
And he read it and offered to fly me out to where he lives.
Fantastic.
What a dude. What a dude.
Let's talk a bit more about that when we come back from the break. Join us when we come back from the break. We're going to have Colin Freakshow Fletcher on the digital wall, talk a bit more about Jens and some more about our giveaways. So come right back on Sports Night Live presents The Cage. Welcome back to Sports Night Live presents The Cage. Man, Jens was an amazing guest, wasn't he? I could talk to that guy all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure he could probably talk all day as well.
Well, you know, he mentioned the stories, and I mean, that's what, when we were talking about the up-and-coming fighters and what the UFC was like, sort of, you know, as he said back in the day, it's those stories that really, really makes it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite fighters of all time is Igor Vovchanchyn, and there's like, this is like back in the day, talking like 96, 97, the equivalent of like the Chuck Norris jokes that go around today. You used to get those things about Igor Vovchanchyn. And there was a fantastic one that said when he grew up in this village in the Ukraine, he used to have a really violent temperament, and the villagers would ring a bell in the town square when he was out and he was angry, so everyone used to just hide in their houses. I don't know whether that one was true or not, but there is one true story about him. It's not really a story, but he entered 3 8-man, one-night bare-knuckle tournaments in the space of a month and knocked all 9 opponents out.
Outstanding.
Legendary.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. God, there was so much good stuff last week, and I don't want to miss anything. But we had ONE FC last weekend. How good was that?
It was a really good show. Really, really good show. I was a bit sceptical about ONE FC at first because they were bringing guys who were champions in traditional martial arts and various other martial arts and putting them together. And part of you thinks, well, this isn't 1993 anymore. But at the same time, it's kind of cool to see how this works now. The guys who, yes, they've got a traditional background, but they know MMA, they've done a bit of work in MMA, and you see some really exciting fights. And you know, we talked a couple of weeks ago about the guys who are bringing the traditional styles into their MMA training, and you know, guys like Anderson Silva were seeing these crazy techniques, and Lyoto Machida doing the crane kick on Randy Couture.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing these guys in ONE FC who are kind of building a mixed martial arts game around traditional martial arts. and it makes a hell of a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, well, I read a blog this week about that, and the guy that was writing the blog was talking about, do traditional martial arts have a place in MMA? And we had a bit of conversation between us on his blog about that, because I kind of...
That was James Thompson's blog, yeah.
I said, what are you going to do with guys like Machida, and what are you going to do with, with Anderson Silva and the front kick and, GSP and those kind of guys?
I think there's a big distinction. I mean, what you have to remember is that if you go to the kind of traditional martial arts school, like the stereotypical McDojo, which will teach you a style of karate, for example, and tell you that nothing else works, and if you do this, you will be unbeatable.
Well, I think that was the point.
That's the kind of traditional martial arts that we know it doesn't work because we've seen it since 1993. But if you can go to somewhere, we had Neil Grove on last week talking about, he goes back to his karate dojo to this day. You learn the discipline there, and you learn how to mold it into an all-round MMA game. Yeah. That's where the future of the sport, I think, is.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Luke, what about you in your training? I mean, give us an idea of your typical training week.
Well, I don't come from any traditional martial arts background, so I started at Tsunami. It's the first place I ever trained. My first session was with the boys, and AJ taught me how to do a triangle. AJ Wen, who sort of disappeared now, but he used to be a big name around. So I've always done MMA. So I train, like my wrestling, my Muay Thai and everything, it's all MMA related. So, like I'll do Muay Thai, but if you catch a kick, I won't be thinking about kicking them back. I'll be thinking about running into a takedown and that sort of stuff. So,
well, and I think that's the point, isn't it? I mean, because you sort of have this catalog of moves or weapons in your head, and I think what makes a good fighter is how fast can you rifle through your catalog of moves and say, yep, that'll work here, and boom.
Yeah. Well, the incredible thing about the main event of 1FC, you had Zorobabel Moreira against Felipe Enomoto, and the second round comes, and Moreira, just the most perfect cut kick ever, takes the guy's legs from right underneath him, straight into mount, and a beautiful armbar. So you've gone from Muay Thai to Jiu-Jitsu in the blink of an eye. It was fantastic.
Yeah, well, I think that's what makes the sport exciting, isn't it? So yeah, really, really good. We've also got another clip I want to show of you, Luke, versus Ben Callum at UCMMA. I was sat cage side that night. Again, one of the perks of my job is I get to sit cage side for all the greatest fights. So let's have a look at that fight, you versus Ben Callum at UCMMA. Roll the video.
Smile. This is a confident man. He knows he's won this fight if it goes to the distance. And with only 37 seconds left to go, I think the man is right.
Barnatt doing the right thing, landing some strikes, and once again fishing under for that choke, and I think he's got it under the neck there. That looks very, very tight. Very tight. Ben Callum showing tremendous heart, but that is a tight rear naked choke. But look at the heart of Ben Callum, not wanting to tap, despite that choke being on. Surely he can't have much more.
Wow.
Amazing. And lost the body triangle as well. Just got the hooks in now, but Callum spent a lot in those transitions. What a fight, gentlemen, but what a performance from Luke Barnatt. The toughest fight of his career, and rolls for the armbar. What a fantastic way to start the card here off at Ultimate Challenge. A great middleweight bout.
Wow, absolute phenomenal performance. Well, this is all that Ben Callum had was the stand-up game, but he did the big mistake, closing the gaps against the grappler Luke Barnatt. Took him down, there's the body lock, the rear naked choke. But hey, credit to Ben Callum, fantastic defense. Defended every single submission that Luke Barnatt tried.
And that's a very, very tight looking choke, you can see. Callum really straining there. Barnatt did a tremendous job to anchor that body lock in and keep control.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. After 3 rounds of mixed martial arts action, we go to the judges' scorecards. All 3 judges see this bout the same way and score at 30-27 for your winner. By unanimous decision, fighting out of the red corner, Luke Barnatt!
Who's that announcer there with the flamboyant jacket?
What a handsome guy, eh? Much better than that other announcer we saw earlier.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Again, I absolutely love to sit cage side, watch you fight. But you're a tall guy, aren't you? How tall are you?
6'6".
6'6". So when you, particularly at middleweight, I mean, you typically are going to meet guys that are much shorter and much more stocky. Do you find that your height is an advantage, a disadvantage, some and some?
Well, we essentially spoke this on the way up. It is an advantage, definitely. But there's disadvantages to it as well. I mean, I train with like Jack Mason, who I think he says he's 5'11", but I think he's 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, he's the same height as me.
Yeah,
I know how tall Jack is.
And Jack's a very strong guy, muscles on muscles, a strong guy. If he gets in close to you and he can grab hold of you, the strength can play a factor. Being 6'6", I can only have a certain amount of muscle on my frame.
Yeah, sure.
But the reach especially with the stand-up, as well with my grappling, really does help. So I think training where I train with Tsunami, who are great grapplers, and a lot of short guys there who are quite stocky, like Tommy, you know, when I wrestle with those guys, I get used to using my strength and length and leverage rather than, you know, so it's a great thing for me. I think if I was at a more traditional place where there's a lot more stand-up, I'd struggle with the wrestling, but because I've got the wrestling background, it really helps with my frame. So
I think that wrestling base really helps anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Especially for a tall guy. So.
Yeah, of course. Tommy, how do you find it at training at Tsunami as well? And I mean, you guys, you've got some phenomenal ground skills there.
Yeah, well, that's one of the main things. Wrestling is the main base for everything. You know, without that, if you want to be a striker and you can't wrestle, you're going to get taken down.
Yeah.
If you want to be a ground guy and you can't wrestle and you can't take them down, then you're in trouble. You know. Yeah. So that's the concept me and my brother go by. You know, just wrestling base is the most important thing you can have.
Yeah, yeah. I come from a wrestling background, so I agree.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we saw John's debut in the UFC. You know, he took a big shot on the feet. He was able to come back and control the fight by taking the guy down, out wrestling him, out grappling him.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's something, and we talked about it briefly when Tom Watson was here. We talked about wrestling is something that it doesn't come easy. I mean, you have to train and train and train to where things just become habitual. You know, and I think, like I said, that's one thing that you guys do really well. I've rolled with your brother a bit, and yeah, that's one thing. Like I said, coming wrestling since I was 6 years old, you know, you can tell when somebody's been wrestling for a year, when somebody's been sort of wrestling all their life, and I think you guys have it in spades there.
Well, it's like you said earlier, when you have to have in your mind your options and you just pick them out when this thing happens. When you're wrestling, you have to work on reactions. So if someone does something, you do something else to counter it, and you have to have that all-round game with you. So, you know, if you're trying to take someone down with a double leg and they sprawl, you have to think about how to change it up. You have to link your wrestling together to make it work. Yeah. You know, so it's the same. Then with MMA involved as well, if you're trying to do something that doesn't work, it might open up a knee or something else. But if you can't, like Tsunami's based on, if you can't wrestle, you can't fight. That's how we see it. So.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It'll be interesting to see what some of these bigger promotions that are going on all over the world, like ONE FC, Super Fight League. It's in your head now.
Love it. It's never out of my head. It's been in my head for about 6 weeks. You know, it's on the playlist on my iPod that I listen to wherever I go. So I'll be chilling out, maybe a nice bit of Jimi Hendrix or something. Next thing you know, I've got Indian dubstep in my ear, and it's
fantastic.
It's crazy.
They've got a big event coming up this weekend. Our friend Neil's going to be over there. I can't wait.
It's going to be a tough fight for Neil. Todd Duffy's no joke, but Neil's no joke either. He's one dangerous dude. I think it's going to be a great fight, whatever happens.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait till Neil gets back and we can talk to him about the sort of Indian experience. So I was just in Delhi last week, and even being in Delhi, everybody knows about Super Fight League, and you know, because a lot of the guys in my day job, they know what I do on the weekends. And when I was at the office in Delhi, they said, "Oh, do you know anything about this real fighting that's coming over here?" I said, "Yeah, Super Fight League." "Oh yeah, that stuff was awesome." So yeah, "Is that what you do?" I said, "Well, yeah, that's what I announce." "Oh man, that we can't wait for that." And they've got a big event coming up in Delhi, next one. So
it's going to be big. You know, the wrestling went over there, had a lot of success, and you know, people in India have a taste for violence. You know, a lot of the Bollywood movies are very violent, and I think I saw an interview with Raj Kundra, and he was talking about this, and you know, the wrestling did very well over there, but people kind of know it's not real, and they weren't so much interested in the pageantry of it. But you know, when they heard about MMA, they were loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think they're only good things for Super Fight League. Can't wait. We got to go to another break. We always run out of time on this show. So join us when we come back from the break on Sports Night Live, when we talk more about some of the global MMA. We'll talk more to Luke Barnatt, more to Tommy, and a bit more to number 48. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Sports Night Live presents The Cage. So before we left, we just were talking about Super Fight League, and we were talking about wrestling, and you made a comment about how the wrestling was fake, and they kind of knew that.
Yeah, I got sternly reprimanded in the break by Tommy here for saying the wrestling was fake. I know we all enjoyed WrestleMania at the weekend, though.
Yeah, how could you not? The Rock beating John Cena. Come on, it was great. There's nothing better.
I know we're an MMA show, but you can't miss WrestleMania, can you?
Oh no,
Absolutely.
It's the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, yeah.
I started watching wrestling when I was about 14 years old, but you know, every now and again WrestleMania comes back up, and I heard it was the Undertaker's last match or one of his last matches. I had to see that, and see the Undertaker wearing MMA gloves and pulling off a go-go plaster in the middle of his match as well. What's all that about? I thought this guy was supposed to be a zombie.
He's a big fan of MMA though.
There
He always
you go.
has been. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's, you know, and if we look at UFC and we look at their certainly their early events, I mean, WrestleMania is the blueprint that they use to build their show. And you got guys like The Rock. There is no better sports entertainment figure in the world than The Rock. The Rock is in front of the camera. He's amazing, and I think that every MMA fighter in the world could learn something from how The Rock handles himself on camera.
Yeah, we've said before, haven't we? You know, you could be the best fighter in the world. If nobody knows who you are and nobody remembers your name or something about you, you're not going to make millions. And you look at the guys like Ken Shamrock, who, you know, has not won a fight in years and years and years. He's you know, an elder statesman of the sport, but wherever he goes, people still know who he is. They still recognise him, and he can still get fights for a lot of money because of the image that he built up for himself. And he spent a lot of time as a pro wrestler. A lot of people don't realise he was actually a pro wrestler before he ever got into pancrase in the UFC. He was a pro wrestler in the late 80s, and that obviously helped him through his career. And then, you know, Tito Ortiz took the blueprint from Shamrock, moved on.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. So, Tommy, would you ever consider being a pro wrestler?
Yes, before I got into MMA, that's what I wanted to do.
Is it?
Yeah, that's all me and my brother would do, just wrestle.
Yeah. I think there's definitely room for some sharing. How about you, Luke? Certainly got the height for it.
I got the height for it. I don't think I got the build, but wrestling, not my thing. I think I'll leave that to Maguire brothers, the pro wrestling.
Well, you got to love a bit of WrestleMania. I think it's, like you said, the showmanship. Speaking of showmanship, I got to say we've had some problems with our fiber optics. So we were going to have Colin Freakshow on the digital wall. Unfortunately, our digital wall broke during the break, so we'll have Colin on a future date. Shame, because he's another one that's got a big personality, and I think will draw people because of his personality, and then, you know, you can back it up when you fight. That's what it's all
I thought
about.
maybe we had some problems getting an internet connection in Colin's Funhouse. There's all kind of freaky stuff going on there.
Colin's Funhouse.
Yeah.
You've got red trousers on as an ode to Colin.
That was, yeah, these are my clown trousers. I thought I'd wear it for him. But he didn't show up, so I think he's a bit scared to be on the show with Tommy. You know,
think that's what it is?
Same weight class, maybe he didn't want to come on and have a chat. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to hook that up later. We've got a lot of things coming up this weekend. All sorts of fights coming up. Again, we've got Super Fight League. Really looking forward to that. Neil Grove, I can't wait. Neil, all the best for your fight this week. Can't wait to watch you.
And Paul Kelly as well. Got to give a shout out to Paul Kelly.
Yeah. Paul Kelly as well. Yeah, can't wait. We're going to have probably Phil Baroni on next week, talk a bit more about Super Fight League and his experiences there, so really looking forward to that. We've got UCMMA. Anything you're looking forward to coming up?
There's two big fights at Ultimate Challenge that I'm looking forward to the weekend. We've got Warren Key, who now trains over with us at Tsunami. He's been there about 10 months. He's fighting Bowler from Team Titan, so big fight for the welterweights at Ultimate Challenge. It's going to be good. Warren always brings it. He's always exciting. He is dangerous with his elbows and foot stomps, and he's just a mean man.
That's going to be a good fight because Bowler's no slouch either.
Exactly, yeah.
I spoke to Brad Pickett on Sunday, and he says that Bowler's, you know, he knows this is a big fight for him, and he's training really hard. So it should be a great one.
And they come with an army, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like band dogs. It's just they're in the house. Everybody knows it.
And they've been, I think they've been training over at ATT in America, you know, which they always do now for their fights. So going to be a good fight. And then we've got one of my other friends fighting, Arnold Allen. He's an 18-year-old lad from BKK Fighters in Colchester, which is another place I train. And he's fighting one of Jimmy Manua's boys, Nathan Grayson. They're both up-and-coming fighters. A lot of talk going on about them. Very young. And Arnold he's an animal. His dad, I don't know if any of you guys know his dad, Pacer. He used to fight in the old school. That's his dad. So he's making Arnie do press-ups at 2 years old, and he's a ripped 18-year-old kid who's raring to go. So it'll be a good show.
You know, I love watching the young kids when they're coming up. You know, we had Lisa McCollum, 17 years old, on the show a couple weeks ago, and she was fighting for her first title belt. You know, fantastic to see these young kids that come up. They you know, get a taste for it young. You know, I mean, when I was young, you know, we would, you know, run around and play Starsky and Hutch in the grass, and we, you know, occasionally play fight or whatever. But man, I wish MMA was around when I was. You know.
It's like Jens said, didn't he? You know, it's available now everywhere at a young age. You know, you get into it. I think Arnie's been training 2.5 years, and he's 18. So, you know, I wish I was training when I was that young. I wish I looked like Arnie did when I was his age.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
No kidding.
Crazy.
Okay. Tommy, what was it like at your house growing up with your brother? I mean, were you guys pro wrestling all over the place, jumping off the top bunks? And
yeah, all the time. That's what we always done. Even my sister got in on it. It was great.
I think, you know, again, I mentioned it earlier, but I think that there's nothing like brothers that both have a love for the sport and you know, sort of grew up playing together and then, you know, ultimately come and train together and just, you know, kind of giving it to each other more than any other training partner. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Any fights coming up that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, well, in 10 days, it's UFC Sweden, which John's fighting on.
There it is.
So
yeah.
he's fighting DeMarcus Johnson.
Yeah.
And it's going to be good.
That's going to be a good fight. Yeah, I can't wait to see John fight either. Always a pleasure. You know, I've been a fan of John since the first BAMMA. It was the first time I ever saw him fight when he fought Tom Watson, broke his arm.
Where Tom Watson got lucky.
Yeah.
Tom Watson got lucky.
And even my wife said when he was walking out of the cage, she said, that guy broke his arm. I've never seen anybody as well out as him. I said, well, you know, it's kind of what it takes, because I think John Phillips broke his arm that same night in a fight against Des Sutherland and couldn't continue. But
yes, some funny stories in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So yeah, so all the best, John, for your fight coming up. Again, Neil, really, really looking forward to seeing you. Good luck. We've also got the Kings fighting in the weekend, both King brothers. So really, really looking forward to that at UCMMA. So awesome, awesome, awesome.
And the
stuff
return of Michael Page, who obviously caught a lot of eyeballs with his crazy
we'll see how he
Street Fighter 2
continues.
spinning flying
Really
kick
good.
thing.
So we're just about out of time. What I always like to do every week is give my guests their limited edition It's Go Time t-shirts.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Luke Barnatt.
Been waiting for this for a while.
Tommy Maguire.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
Welcome to the Hollywood Army.
Yes.
So we've got a couple giveaways I just want to run through quickly. Don't forget, we've got a copy of Jens Pulver Driven, also autographed by Jens. All you have to do is let us know what college his brother Abel went to, at the Cage STL on Twitter. Tweet us the answer and you'll get it. Also, I'm giving away tickets. I'm hosting a dinner with Mike Tyson on 23rd of April in Slough. So if you'll also tweet to the Cage STL, tell me how many career knockouts Mike Tyson had, and we'll hook you up with a pair of tickets to spend the evening with him at dinner. It's going to be really fantastic. And join us next week. I'm so excited again for next week. I'm going to spend some time with Gracie on the weekend, and we're going to record all that. So Hoist will be on the show. Also, we're looking to get Phil Baroni on the show next week. We'll have Jermaine Facey in studio as well, talk about his recent trip to America, all about American MMA. So really, really good stuff coming up. Our show just gets better and better and better.
Every week.
As always, we just seem to keep running out of time. So for all my guests today, for Tommy Maguire, for Luke Barnatt, for number 48, it's not go time, but it's time to go. See you next time on Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. How's that? Hold on. Through the magic of television, we have fixed our fiber optic cables. We've got one more interview for you, so don't go anywhere. But first, let's have a look at the VT.
The Freak Show, Colin Fletcher. I don't know quite how to describe him.
Makes him a lot easier to tag with your kicks, with your strikes, and with your punches. And I tell you what, he is really stepping up the pace on the work rate here in the first round. There's one Colin Freak Show Fletcher. Freak Show is really, really controlling, dictating the pace, dictating the movement. Ball is going to have to, well, get on the ball here in the second and try to make something happen.
Cross outside thigh kick from Freak Show, looks to clinch up now, gut munching knee, and Jason Ball jukes off the fence. That's more like it from Daddy Cool. But he's got it counter with the right. Catch and sweep here from Fletcher. Are we going to go to ground for the first time? Hammer fist strike does the job. Now we're on the ground. Fletcher inside the guard of Jason Ball. Now the game changes, Pierre.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. After 3 5-minute rounds of MMA action, we ask our judges at ringside for their decisions. Our 3 scoring judges, Ashley Grimshaw, Sully Mahmood, and Andy Roberts, all have the contest 30 points to 27 points. It is a unanimous decision in favor of our winner. From the blue corner, Colin Freakshow Fletcher.
As if we didn't already have enough personality on our show, the one, the only, Colin Freakshow Fletcher. Colin, how's it going?
I'm cool, man, yeah.
Really, really good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I know we had a bit of trouble earlier, but we're really glad we got it worked out. So you got your buddies with you as well.
They're off school.
Oh. You are without doubt one of the most colorful figures in MMA today. Fantastic to not just watch your walk-ins, but to watch your fights and to watch your skill in the cage on BAMMA. I think it's been really, really good. Give us your thoughts on that last fight.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a really good fight. You think he's going to hammer? Yeah, it was a really good fight. I really enjoyed every second of it, really. People were kind of wondering why I would stand up with Jason Ball, but to be fair, I was wondering why people wouldn't expect us to stand up with Jason Ball.
Yeah, and I mean, you tend to take a fight wherever people don't expect you to take it, don't you?
Yeah, that's me all over, really. I'm after interesting fights. I'm not after boring fights. I think if I was in too many boring fights, I'd probably retire.
Would you? So, what are you looking for next? I mean, do you have another fight scheduled yet?
Not yet, but I should be. I've been speaking to my manager this week. I should have something in the pipeline by the end of the week. So, fingers crossed I can get something in quite quickly. Get back into it. Picked up no injuries in that fight, so I'm training. I'm training back to normal. Hope to get back in as soon as I can.
What does your typical weekly training regime look like?
Oh, pretty full on, really. I'm doing kind of 3 times a day in grappling or MMA sparring in the mornings, bit of cardio in the afternoon, and then back to the night time where I'm doing my skill sets and basically pushing up on my techniques and things.
Colin, I've got to ask you, man, why so serious?
This isn't a joke. An attack, you can't take them anywhere.
So what's the deal with your 2 little friends there?
They should be at school, but the schools are off for Easter, I think it is. So they just follow us everywhere. You can't get rid of them, really. Fair.
Where do you keep them? Where do you keep them at night?
In a box. Eat little bits of chicken leg.
So, Colin, where does this whole clown thing come from? The evil clown. I mean, I grew up, watching Stephen King's It, and that kind of put me off clowns for life. Is that something that you picked up on as well?
Well, I grew up watching it myself as well. It didn't put us off clowns. It kind of turned us onto them, really. I love scary clowns. I love anything scary. I just love having a bit of fun with my life. I think a lot of people take things too seriously. When it comes to fighting, I'm all business when I'm in the cage, but as soon as I step out, I'm just having fun. So that's basically me all over, really. Just like have a bit of a big crack on with the lads and stuff.
I mean, you fought on. I'll just leave you to get choked out there by one of your little friends.
Fine.
You fought on the BAMMA before the last one as well, and I think that was kind of a big coming out party for you. You had a great fight with David Round. Was that kind of like the jumping off point for you? Because BAMMA's a big show, and all of a sudden there's a lot of people talking about you, and the poster for the last BAMMA went viral on the internet because of you, in the whole clown gear. Was that kind of like a breakout moment for you?
Yeah, I don't really care about stuff like that. The David Round fight, I kind of expected him to come out and do the same sort of thing that Jason did, really. I expected a stand-up war from David. I was pretty surprised that he wanted to get stuff to the ground as quick as he did. I'm not really bothered about whether things are going viral because I'm having a little bit of fun with my life or not. It's not going to stop us doing what I do or encourage us to do what I do. I just like doing it anyway. So,
well, we've had a lot of talk. I want to talk a bit more about your fighting, but we've talked a lot on this show about sort of the showmanship aspect of fighting and how it's sort of building a total package fighter is more than just you know, being good everywhere and being a fantastic fighter, but you've definitely got to have a persona. You've got to have something that the public can buy into, something that the public really can kind of sink their teeth into. And I think you've got that in spades.
It's just, I think you've either got it or you haven't. Like, it either comes naturally. I don't think it can be forced too much. I just enjoy rolling with it, really. Have a little bit of a laugh with everything I do, really. This is me, pretty much. You might not believe it, but every day of the week we're kind of tuning together and having a bit daft crack on, so I just let everybody see it. He's got it.
And have you got your eye on anybody, particularly in the UK MMA scene or the global MMA scene particularly? We had Tommy Maguire in the studio earlier, and he quite fancy having a fight with you. Have you got anybody that you're looking at as sort of your next challenge?
No, not really. Anybody will do, to be fair.
Anybody will do.
Just fetch them all on, really. Anyone. Put us in the middle, and I'll not be such a colourful character when I get in the middle.
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, big and colourful outside the cage and all business once you get there.
That's it, like, mate. I'm a different person altogether when the cage door shuts.
Colin, I've got to ask you, yeah, with your two friends there, you look like the kind of guy who might be prepared for the zombie apocalypse. What are you going to do when the zombies finally come?
When the zombies do finally come, I'm pretty sure that I've befriended enough now so that I'll be one of the few who gets looked after. I'll be kind of overlord of the zombies, if you like. Right.
So, Colin, what's your favorite horror movie?
Horror movie, it's got to be it. I love it. It's kind of the inspiration for my life, if you want. One day I aspire to be as evil as Pennywise the Clown. You never know, one day.
Pennywise. Outstanding. And so when you're not fighting, when you're not training, when you're not hanging out with your friends, what does Colin's life look like?
Just mooch about with my wife and stuff, really, to be honest with you. Yeah, Mrs. Freakshow puts up with a lot of shit.
And how does Mrs. Freakshow fit into your life? I mean, is she what are the things that I guess are in common between the two? Is she a bit of an evil clown herself?
Oh, to be fair, she's quite laid back. She just I think she enjoys the evil clown thing, which is not as crazy as me, so to speak. But she's very 2 seconds. Fighting. But I like to see her. She puts up with a lot. She's very supportive and looks after us when I get tucked into my coffin in the night time.
Tucked into your coffin, behind every good man, as they say. So Colin, we're just about out of time, but before we let you go, is there anything that you want to plug? How do we follow you on Twitter? How do we catch up with you on Facebook?
You can Facebook us with my name, Colin Fletcher, Colin Freakshow Fletcher, or on Twitter, I think I'm Colin Freakshow, at Colin Freakshow on my Twitter. Shut up. But and I'd like to thank my sponsors, Made for the Cage, Lonsdale and FunkyGums.com. That's pretty much it, I think.
Fantastic. We're really looking forward to your next entry into the cage. We can't wait for an announcement to see who you're going to be fighting next. Always a pleasure to see you fight. Really, really good to talk to you today, Colin. Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, Colin.
See you soon. That guy is an absolute total nutter. I think he's got exactly what it takes to draw the non-MMA audience into MMA. What do you think?
If he only had a personality, he's a guy who could probably make it really big.
Yeah, if he only had a personality.
No, I mean, yeah, we've said it before and we'll say it again. It's the guys like Colin with the extreme personalities. You're going to remember that guy. You know, you see him once, you remember him for 10 years. And the fact that he can back it up in the cage. And, we talked about him before as well. The guy's known as a submission guy, crazy submissions. The fight against Jason Ball was like a Muay Thai clinic. The guy can do it standing up and on the ground. He's the total package.
He just kind of came out of nowhere, didn't he? Just absolutely came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it was that BAMMA fight against David Brown. It was such a fight full of crazy visuals. You know, David was picking him up, slamming him maybe 3 or 4 times right over his head, and then Colin comes back out of nowhere with a crazy anaconda choke variation. It was an amazing visual, and obviously the visual of his walk-ins and everything else about the guy. Top character.
Fantastic. So for number 48, Brad Wharton, for me, Hollywood. Once again, it's not go time, but it's time to go. Colin Freakshow Fletcher, keep an eye out. He's an amazing guy. Can't wait to see him. So we'll see you next time right here on Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.